sure there'll be lots of you in this room who might not have heard of Rotherham until recent years, and we've come a long way, and I think we hopefully today the story we tell you will illustrate how that's happened and the progress we've made. Just in case you don't know anything about Rotherham, and you wouldn't be forgiven for driving past us on the M1, we do actually sort of sit in the shadow of Sheffield, a much larger city. We're also surrounded by many other authorities, Barnsley, Doncaster, Bassetlaw, North East Derbyshire. A very industrial town, but we do have some really pretty sites, which unfortunately we haven't historically made much of. This is a wonderful picture of the Minster, which was made a Minster in 2004. But the town centre, it's fair to say, is looking very sorry for itself, needs a lot of investment. And when we move on to the next slide, one of our key priorities is actually trying to put some vitality back into our town centre. We're trying to encourage businesses to come into the area. We've already made quite a lot of progress in terms of, we have a new town centre plan that's been out for consultation. We're having a new transport interchange. We've even got the start of what will be a new university in Rotherham. Ground broke just before Christmas. So there's a lot of work to do. And a couple of interesting things you may not know. We're one of the largest towns. We have 260,000 people in our administrative area. We have 30 parish councils. We're also, for an industrial town, 70% of our geographic area is actually rural. Okay. So just to tell you a bit about our priorities, understandably, with what we've been through, key for us is making every child have the best start in life. I'm pleased to say we have now been rated as good by Ofsted, which is an incredible achievement after several years of intense transformation, guided by the commissioners and supported by everyone in the council. Some very, very tough times, but some of that has made us very rigorous in our governance. Everything we do has had to be analysed very carefully and been under the microscope. So we do think going forward, what we have is a much sturdier and stronger structure from which to grow. I've already mentioned about extending opportunity and prosperity, and hopefully the new town centre plan will attract more businesses for investment. We are actually at Rotherham is the biggest growing economy in Yorkshire, which is an incredible achievement and one that we hope will continue much into the future. Underpinning those four key priority areas, and much of what we want to talk about today, is our aspiration to be a modern and efficient council. Now, I don't know how it sits within your own councils, but the three of us, we're all within customer services. Our web team is in customer services. It isn't an IT-led function, and I think that's really important for what we plan to do in terms of enhancing customer experience and driving that digital engagement. And hopefully when Rob and John take over from myself, you'll see how our journey has gone today, a very fast-paced journey, but hopefully you'll be able to perhaps see some similarities with challenges you have in your own councils too. Just before I pass over to John, this just really is giving you a bit of a glimpse of our digital strategy in terms of Digital Place being our desire to extend, for example, free Wi-Fi and hopefully put it into the town centre as well. Digital workforce, that is what it is. We have to get our workforce on board with what we're doing. We need our workforce to be advocates for digital change. And it's quite surprising, actually, because when we ask our staff what we mean by digital, some of them simply say, well, I put my email address on everything I send out. So I think we've got a lot of work to do internally. Very much around what we talk about today is about digital customer service, but interestingly, and I think it's been picked up in quite a lot of the other presentations and Siraj's intro as well, all of that needs digital collaboration. We have to work together, we have to work with our partners. It's great to work with everybody in the room today and learn from your experiences too, and that will actually be fundamental to everything we do moving forward. So, my warm-up's done. I'm going to pass you over to John, Online Services Manager.
Thank you. So just a quick introduction of where we are, really. So we've been customers of Jadu for almost 10 years. We've got the CMS and XFP products in place. We're very, as Helen's touched on with the team, it's a very small team. There's 4 people, including myself, in the web team. So we tap into our comms and marketing functions for help with content on the website. Just some quick stats, 1,200 web visitors per month. We've got 300 forms available to the public, which we're going to focus on with this presentation. 7,500 forms completed a month, but half of those are completed by our contact centre staff rather than public themselves, so digitally assisted. 55,000 calls per month that the contact centre also deal with, and then 6,500 face-to-face customers. Just going back to the forms, it's very, the figures, we know that figure exactly because it's a physical form completed, but what we don't fully understand is more transactions happen on the website. So people come, find out when their next bin is, when the school term dates are, when the library's open, stuff like that. We don't class that as a transaction on the website, or certainly we don't report on it. But if them transactions happen on the phone, it's a physical transaction, and we count it. So just a quick view of our website as it stands now. So you'll notice it's very news heavy, and this is a result of what Helen's just touched on the last 3 years. Our powers that be decided we need to try and rebuild our brand and reputation. So all our transactional functions are down the website, down the page. We're not too concerned about this right now. We've got other things to deal with. We know that about 80% of our traffic don't even see this page anyway, so it's not a priority for us right now, but it will be at some point in time. So looking at the forms, we've currently, from the 300 customer-facing forms, they're all very linear. We basically say, who are you and what's the issue? And then that gets emailed to the service. Is everybody sort of familiar with that, or has people done more than that with a form? Okay, so this has been the case for us for 15 years plus since we've had a website. It's never been challenged. We don't really have a good understanding of what's happening. We don't get feedback to whether that form's been completed. And we don't even know if it's been delivered in some cases. So, for instance, our email system might be under maintenance and emails are not getting through. Inboxes could be full. Or indeed, with our dog fouling and graffiti forms, profanities and stuff that come through on those get blocked by our mail marshal. And sometimes we don't even know if them forms are getting through. So I'm going to hand over to Rob now. So that's kind of set the scene of where we are. Rob's going to talk us through our CRM project to revamp all this.
Yeah, thanks, John. Afternoon, everyone, or as we say in Rotherham, all right. Just when I was asked to support this presentation, what I wanted to do was really just try and have you try and resonate or relate to what I'm about to tell you. So actually, I'm not going to talk to slides. I'm really going to try and really paint that picture. And that picture for me was, if you've ever been in that position, or you're a director and you've put somebody else in this position, what I just wanted to talk to was what happened to me on the 18th of September last year, when my director pitched up at my desk and said, Rob, have you got 5 minutes? Yep, no problem, just finished what I was doing. We went into a corner and we just had an open and frank conversation, and that conversation went to suggest that our CRM that we've had for a number of years now, you're aware that it's on a legacy ICT platform. Yes, I do. You appreciate that at this moment in time we don't have any support and maintenance. That lapsed a number of years ago. Yep. And we have currently in our contact centre quite a lot of manual workaround. So actually the CRM product as was a very convoluted, very manual intense product. Okay, can probably get where this is going. So we need to make some quite quick changes. And what we have got is a position that we need to be transitioning and migrating off our CRM as soon as we possibly can. So to put that in perspective, I just asked the question, well, that sounds a really good opportunity. When are we thinking this needs to happen? So bearing in mind we're on the 18th of September, his request of me was by the end of the calendar year, please, Rob. So by December just gone. Okay, thanks for that. So where I stood at that moment was, okay, just thinking this through in my head. So in terms of budget, no budget. Okay, so there's no money here. Okay, so we're going to throw a load of resources at this, surely. Sorry, Rob, we can't expend anybody else from operational service. So what happened then was he was looking at me for a reaction. So bearing in mind we've got no budget, a very challenging timescale, I was asked, "Are you up for the challenge?" Put myself in a very position and just said, yeah, we'll go for it. So kicking myself all the way back to the car thinking, what have I just set myself up for? And what we want to do today is just talk you through actually how we achieved that. So on the 18th of September, coming in on that next morning, what I was tasked to do was to generate and establish a project team. So what I want to do today is just talk you through some of the steps that we went through. And this is not me trying to preach to you as project managers. What I really want to do was just talk through what we did to achieve that challenging timescale. So if anybody's currently sat out there in a similar position, that their legacy CRM is coming end of life, these are just some pointers from Rotherham in terms of how we achieved that 3-month timescale. So, no resources, but what we had is a team of existing, from John's team, some web development officers. We had some business analysts and business liaison that work in our contact centre that we could draw on, and we had one project support officer. And our first steps really were to look at the existing processes that were in our CRM, and we identified there were to be about 75 processes that are currently delivered by our CRM in our customer service centre. And what we wanted to do was to take them out, dust them down, and get those approved in terms of which are the high volume, high priority processes that we wanted to look at. And what we did, we had some existing process maps that we class as is. And what we wanted to do was make sure we'd got the right priority on them. So we did look at the volumes of the transactions and really where that ranks in terms of the service. We had some stakeholder engagement, so we worked with our colleagues in other services to understand what their position was. And again, I think what we've heard already around the room is that winning some of that hearts and minds and trying to really convert and get some people out of their manual paper-based processes was very difficult. And what we were tasked with and what we run with was some very challenging workshops where we brought services into a workshop environment with the project team, with others in customer services and the service manager. And what we wanted to do out there, we were very firm in terms of timescales. So we brought them into a room. We had very clear objectives in terms of what we wanted as an output of that project, of that workshop. And that ultimately delivered a very high level to-be process map. That delivered a specification that our web team could then work to and build a new form. And really it was just all about getting that approval and that engagement at that point of time. So from John's team, we had new web forms delivered, and actually the final numbers were 65 processes that were taken out of the legacy CRM and were built into the XFP product. I've picked up from Lichfield already earlier that testing is fundamental, and we can't kind of make more precedence on making sure testing's done as much as we possibly can. And the final stage in all that is that the process was approved, formally documented and put into the system. Okay. Where we want to be and how we try to visualize this ultimately was, if you look over to the right hand side, this is just some kind of animation that says this is we fell quite short on getting a sausage factory. We talk about it being a sausage factory more than anything. So over on the right hand side, we're seeing the existing process coming into our machine. We're seeing that go down the conveyor belt as such, getting chopped in half, getting ripped up and redesigned, and then sugar-coated in terms of making it a better process for our customers. And again, that's one thing that we really want to harness, is that we put the customer at the front and centre of everything. So I think John's going to now just talk you through how we actually develop the forms.
Yep, thanks Rob. So it's important to remember that we're only talking about internal forms at this point in time. These are not customer-facing forms. These are used by our contact centre. So you remember earlier from our very linear form to report a faulty streetlight would have just been tell us who you are and what the issue is. We've now got a fully processed system form in that it's very intelligent. It understands what the customer is telling us, and we end up with a very, what looks like large form with multiple outcomes. Rob's going to talk more about why we've got so many outcomes shortly. But this just gives you a flavour of how big a single form is, which was literally just a 2-page form previously. How we delivered that was working with our contact centre. We've developed a portal for them. This is a Galaxy site. We worked with the staff directly, and so they've ultimately designed this site for us. They told us they needed access to rotherham.gov.uk, our public-facing website. They needed access to the intranet where our key documents and GIS systems are. The key thing for them all was they wanted to be able to search. We couldn't actually do that very well, but we've done this. But actually, they don't use it now. The portal's so good for them, they don't use the search. They know where the stuff is now, and they go straight to it. They've got jump to section, and then the highest hitting area of the page really is the top forms. And we're in full control of this, so we can change this, and we're about to change it to remove the winter weather. We just need that confidence that the snow's not going to come back again. But we haven't got a CRM. This is not a CRM. This is just our forms. So what we've had to do is give our contact centre access to get back to a form if a customer rings back to ask something about it. So they've got they know what the form is, and they can get straight to the submissions as well, and hopefully track the form if the customer knows the reference number. However, they can't really update the customer just yet because we've not got workflow in place. So it will still say pending. But the contact centre staff can give the customer confidence that yes, we have got your form and it has been passed on to service and it will be dealt with.
Yeah, thanks again, John. So everything that you've just seen on that screen there was with the 65 processes that we've taken out of the legacy CRM and built into a new portal for our contact centre to use. Where that leaves us currently, again, in the absence of a CRM, what we've got to start thinking about is actually how we embed those very same forms amongst our customers. And what we do have is a number of challenges. And those challenges are such that we have different ways of dealing with different access channels. And what we find difficult at the moment, or what our processes don't allow us to do, is to distinguish between what is a normal request, what is an urgent request. And what we find is that all our processes currently are reliant on email, and they are flying all over the authority. And one of the other key issues that we've got is the distinguish between time. So I don't know if this relates to yourselves as much, is that we have this continuing battle with our back office services around the time of day a service is instigated. And we have some key cut-off days where it's almost pack up and go home. And actually, we've got a customer that's requesting a service that needs delivery again. So some of these things are quite urgent, and the council's got statutory obligations or local obligations to make sure things are fixed as an emergency. So what we want to do is really take any decision making out of our contact centre and out of our customer ultimately. And what we want to do is to start building on the set of forms that we've already delivered for the contact centre and to deploy them to our website as well. So what we're doing is we're wanting to take out the responsibility of making a decision from the customer, because we have examples already where the customer is asked to decide whether, in their opinion, they believe the service request is urgent or not. And what we're actually wanting to do is to embed that through the branching, through the questioning in the form, so be it that ends up with the service at the best and most opportune time. So just to go on to, I think, some of the last slides for us. What we want this slide ultimately to depict is we recognise that there are a number of access channels that our customers can come into our services on. And at this moment in time, it's fair to say that each of those access channels delivers a different output to our services. So if we look at our face-to-face so our customer service centres, traditionally, and again I think we've heard already, that they're really wedded to paper. And if somebody comes in off the street and wants to access a service, the likelihood is that will engage some kind of paper somewhere along the line. If customers call into our contact centre, what they are now filling in is the contact centre. What they are now filling in is the new digital form that John's just explained. So from the Galaxy site, from the portal, all our contact centre agents are now filling in the new form. What we've highlighted in green here is our website. So we are looking at channel shift. We are believing that that is the opportune channel that the council wants to embrace moving forward. However, as John explained around the linear forms currently, when those forms hit service, typically they are emailed or rekeyed into other systems. And what we've done is we've just done some kind of key that suggests anything in red there is what we want to address as a priority. So we want to remove the rekeying element of our processes. We want to ensure that we aren't reliant on email because of the reasons John's just explained around some of the language that's used by customers sometimes gets blocked at our mail marshal. So we want to remove all aspects of that and really build it into a workflow system. There are examples as well where service requests come in and that invokes a call. And there are times today where customers will come to the website, so they are a digitally enabled customer. We want to really grab them and harness that experience for them. But what we do is we actually publicise a telephone number. So we've got a number of examples where customers are digitally enabled, they are transacting and showing their preference to transact with us digitally, but we're throwing them a telephone number to phone us up. So it's at odds with where that customer wants to be. So where we want to be ultimately, and this really is to look at our future roadmap in terms of trying to harness a CRM solution, is that we are still recognising that our most vulnerable customers in our society will still have reason to come in to see us face to face, or will have reason to call us. That's what we've identified as a customer service, a personal customer, pardon me. Our online customer is the customer that we want to really harness that transaction, keep them going through. But importantly here, what we're wanting to try and depict is that irrespective of the channel, so whether you are coming in face-to-face, whether you are calling us, or whether you're on the website, it is a single outcome to the service. So it's a single process that we're using irrespective of the channel. And what we want to do is to really embrace that single process, and that form that we are developing now for the contact centre will be deployed to our face-to-face services and also to our customers online. But we have to address some of the concerns that we've got around the priorities and where things go. So that's where we're trying to strive to achieve. Just some very quick headlines. As I mentioned, single digital process is where we want to go. I was introduced to the concept of swivel chair integration not so long back, and just to kind of depict this is the rekeying from one system over here. So we're wanting to make sure that we remove all examples where we're rekeying into two systems. We want to eradicate our manual paper-based processes, and again, we've had examples already, and it exists in Rotherham where we have electronic information coming into us, we print that off, we rekey it into systems, that goes out to services, they go and deliver a fly tip, they're writing on a scrap of paper, it comes back into us, we're rekeying into that system as well. We talk a lot at Rotherham about putting the underpinning architecture in, and this is something that we're very keen to do in making sure that we've got a very eloquent, efficient forms package that also integrates with online bookings and online payments. And the view is that we could, as a project team, be parachuted into any service within the authority and actually be able to transform and digitalise their services. And lastly, one of the things where the business case stacks up, and again, I think we've heard this around the room today, is where it is applicable, we'll look to rationalise our back office systems.